Greetings from ASEF, the Asia Europe Foundation, and thank you so much for joining us in the ASEF Friends and Family series. In this episode, we are featuring our 12th journalist seminar alumni from Belgium, Ms. Nadia TJAHJA. Nadia is the CEO and co-founder of the social enterprise Sanium. Previously, she was Communications Vice President at the Young European Leadership, where she was the agency coordinator of Newsworthy, a prize-winning source verification and fact-checking campaign. She also teaches and designs media and news literacy courses and writes for institutions and organizations. Nadia is a graduate from Besarius College and College of Europe and has recently joined the United Nations University Institute on Comparative Regional Integration Studies as a PhD fellow. So welcome, Nadia. It's a pleasure to chat with you today.
Hello from Belgium, and thank you for having me today.
Nadia, you have been working in source verification. What do you think that media can do to stay relevant in this digital age?
I feel that the core essence of journalism is being able to bring out narratives and understanding, but also presenting information. And that means that we need to verify, analyze, and justify the information that we present. And these are rare skills. I'm not entirely sure it's always being taught in schools. And now with journalism being so widely available in terms of self-publishing, adapting to new platforms to bring out this new context in different formats has become one of the essences of what media has to do today. Because local news is the glue that really holds our communities together, I feel, because they're the mouthpiece of our local communities. It's what we use to find out about the things that are affecting our daily lives. So, you know, the information about our schools and our housing, our healthcare, our crime. So you can also say that it happens for our national newspapers, which really presents the issues between the public and government. It elevates our voices and our stories, and it really reflects back to who we are as a community, and it gives us our sense of civic engagement. It serves a vital function, one which keeps people in the loop of the world that they live in, but also the increasing misinformation in our society, both in Europe and in Asia. The role of journalism has changed, in my opinion, because you can't, as journalists, you're not then only providing transparency, access, and perspective, but now you're also needing to adapt to become educators and making sure that people understand where you're coming from and how you came upon this information. People are, you know, there's news organizations that are fostering fact-checking. So within these new organizations, there are, you know, people who are still focusing on advocacy type of journalism, but then also are working within fact-checking to ensure that the information that they received is accurate. So these are, in essence, the issues that concern me for our society, is the rapid change of regulations, but also the differences between news and how we respond to that, and ultimately the changing role of journalism to not only provide information, become educators.
That's so nice, and it's true that was a really broad question, but I struck too that young generations, young journalists play an important role. For that, ASEF has media projects that specifically tackle the young journalists' ideas. We have an example in the journalist seminar. You participated in the 2019 edition of the journalist seminar in Madrid. Can you let us know how was the experience?
I thought it was really fantastic. It was great. We were working professionals, but also students in the room. And in some lectures, the lecturer wasn't actually telling us their ideas. They weren't telling us their perspectives only. They acted as facilitators by providing a scenario that they work or live in, and asked us to engage on it for further discussions and bring in our own personal perspectives of how we engage with it. And it was really interesting of how, you know, Europeans and Asians then came together. There were areas where we agreed that this was common, but not just because of the geographical aspect, but in terms of safety online, in terms of harassment online, in terms of a variety different of things, or the manner in how we're using tools. So we had so many different overlaps and trying to understanding. And also there were a lot of differences, and the differences were fascinating as the debates were getting heated, because we were so passionate about trying not only to present our ideas, but to provide an understanding of how it influences us within our societies. And this time of bouncing ideas, commenting on our experience, putting it in the wider context, gave us, beside insight, also a problem-solving angle where we're like, oh, hey, I use that tool too, and we're using it in a different way. So perhaps you can overcome your problem in this way. Or we sat there and we discussed safety options and how we as a community can shape this security item and support each other, and providing each other with support in each other's projects. So where we actively tried to understand the issues some countries and some individuals struggled with, and we thought about overcoming these. And that was such a great opportunity, I thought, and it makes really the difference between just following kind of like lectures and really being involved in each other's lives, and being able to provide each other with the help and support that they possibly need back at home.
Are there any personal stories that you would like to share with us?
Well, you were talking about communities, and so we have a really active WhatsApp group. So we share, you know, the latest developments, not only within our country, but also within our areas, or something that is, you know, coming up, and we're like keeping an eye on it and making sure that, oh, well, maybe we have to see how that pans out. But you know, one of the great things is I organized an event for youth. One of the events that I was involved with this year is called the European Dialogue on Internet Governance. And part of that experience is the youth dialogue on internet governance, where we bring youth from all over Europe together to talk about the future of how governance is being done on the internet. And an aspect of what I was responsible for, obviously, was media literacy. So that was very exciting for me to work on. Sadly, we couldn't meet in person because it was going to be held in Trieste. And Trieste is in Italy, and in Italy was my colleague Luca Steinman. He is based in Milan, which is not like about like an hour further. So he was planning to come and join us in person, but because we had to do everything online, because we chose to go virtual, Luca joined us online and shared his experiences as a war journalist, as a journalist and political commentator about some of the issues that these youth were bringing from all over the world. So it was really a great experience that we are capable of having these discussions, but also how people are so open to come and meet us and participate in these webinars. And I was really appreciative that he was able to share his experiences, because Luca was working he was doing journalism in the north of Italy when COVID broke out. So he was really at the forefront of everything that was happening here in Europe. So we were really happy that he was able to provide that time. We understood he was very busy, but he was still willing to, you know, turn up and share his experiences. So that's, I was really appreciative of that. And I really enjoyed what he was able to share. And he's very, very clever.
All the participants of the journalist seminar were, because the discussions were amazing, to tell you. Besides, you also participate as a credit press in the ASEM Foreign Ministers meeting, also in Madrid, and you were able to pose relevant questions to the ASEM leaders. What did you learn from that experience? I found it very interesting as a ghostwriter. I usually receive information in bits and bobs from these events, or I'm watching live online. And coming there in person and seeing it for myself is an experience which is really beyond what I had expected. And it really shows how important is the concept of transparency and access. Without journalists actually being there, there are so many things that are happening that you would not be able to see or see online or understood online. So not only in terms of protocol, how people were meeting each other, how people were engaging with each other,
Also looking at how the rooms were dispersed. So for lobbying that was happening in parallel, these people discussing, and you saw journalists walking around doing interviews, getting perspectives, really trying their best to understand and have a feel for what are people trying to achieve, and how are they moving towards it. I thought that was a really fascinating aspect, and it was really an experience that I would not have had otherwise if I hadn't joined, specifically because I'm mostly behind the scenes. And it made me only realize how important it was to have this access and have this transparency, because otherwise there is an entire line of information that possibly would never have seen the light of day if we didn't have that.
What you would recommend for improving ASEM visibility among young journalists like yourself?
Young journalists at this moment in time are really struggling to have their voice heard, and having a platform like ASEM to be able to present, especially because I was able to ask questions at the ASEM Foreign Ministers meeting in Madrid. This is a fantastic opportunity for them to have their unique voice heard in a platform, accessing the same people that they would have normally, but they would have to combat for more. The room that we were in had such great opportunities for us to ask questions. So I think that's a really great opportunity for us.
Thank you so much, Nadia. Related is true with the unpredictable world we are living now. Do you have any suggestion on how we can better organize media activities, especially under these COVID-19 restrictions that everyone is facing nowadays?
Regarding media activities, because media activities is very broad. So I mean, in writing, we have the world is our oyster when we are able to write. In terms of actually having physical meetings, I know that everybody is online on Zoom, and it makes it easier, yet also difficult to engage with people, especially because of the format in which these exist. But I do believe that we are capable of doing it, but we can also go beyond Zoom meetings. We can organize hackathons to solve problems. One of the great things that I enjoyed from the project was that we were trying to overcome problems that we were facing together, but we first need to understand what is this problem that we're facing. And there are different formats of trying to identify how, what are our experiences, what are our perspectives, and then coming together and find solutions for these. This was really great to do. So when you're talking about, hackathons, you can have world cafes, or you can have other kind of negotiations events, you can have simulations. But of course, being able to present your information and also sharing the information that are coming from the different countries. So because we, as a journalism group, most of the people in our group are publicly writing. And I actually am just thinking of a lot of them being media literacy educators. We ourselves are educators, and we are capable, therefore, of trying to help you with your media activities if you're looking to do anything like that, but also vice versa. If there is any content that you have that we can use to support our societies, those are also things that we can facilitate. But this takes some organization. So in terms of that, we rely on you, on of the organization to help and guide us and bring us together. During COVID-19, everybody is struggling to digitalize and to find themselves within this sphere of what is the internet and how are we going to engage with it. So when governments, when teachers, when bosses are really flabbergasted on how they need to adapt, having a single voice to say, I would like to achieve this, and this is how I want to do it, who's on board, gives a certain certainty that allows people to want to collaborate and further develop. And with a platform as ASEF, you are capable of doing a lot of things, and I really believe in that.
Yeah, we are capable because of you, because the participants. Talking about new formats, and before you were mentioning the example of Luca, I saw that you're an active member of the journalist seminar chat group. That, as you mentioned, still there is a change there. So, do you have any message that you would like to share for your fellow colleagues?
Yesterday, one of the people in the group was asking other people to collaborate, an EU-Asia collaboration. And I'm really looking forward because we are still working on projects. I'm also starting planning projects for 2021 when hopefully everything is solved. And I already have a list of topics and issues that I'm already keen on inviting the others to. So to give their perspective, because I think that what they have taught me should also be shared with the communities. And rather than me sharing what I have heard, it's best to hear from the people who are actually seeing it in real life, and the people who are taught to bring that narrative and sharing the narrative in the way that affects their audiences. And I think that with such a global community that we're facing now, we can't say, oh yeah, you need to take a European perspective of something. No, we need to take a more interactive and intercultural perspective to this. And hearing it from the people who are experiencing this is the best way forward. So thanks, guys. I really appreciate guys, and I hope to see you all soon.